My name is Jeremy Kronig. I am from Temple Emmanuel in Cleveland, Ohio, and currently serve as NIFTY president. I am so excited to be here at the URJ Biennial. Just a few weeks ago, I was honored to represent the Reform movement as a delegate to the World Zionist Congress in Jerusalem. Serving as a delegate offered me the opportunity to strengthen progressive Judaism in Israel by helping to allocate funds for major initiatives. Though I am only 18 years old, I had the privilege of being a part of something world-changing. My generation craves opportunities to be a part of real and meaningful change. The Reform movement has offered me many opportunities to make a real difference, and through my time at the URJ Kutz Camp, our home for teen leadership, I have had the chance to develop these skills. I am just one of many young Jewish leaders here at the Biennial and throughout our movement. Tonight, we are excited to share a few other stories of others who were inspired by our movement to do great work for the world.
My name is David Sinopoli. I'm 25 years old.
My name is Danny Dubin, and I'm 21 years old.
My name is Maya Rigler, and I'm 11 years old.
I remember being taught at a very young age the importance of not just doing good things, but being a good person. I really thought to myself, I want to travel. I want to see different groups of people. And what better time in my life to do that. The first thing I noticed was the heat. And the second thing was, wow, I am no longer, in my comfort zone. And it really hit me that this is going to be my new life for 2.5 years. I'm there to learn about the new culture and to work with these kids and these motivated adults, allowing girls to realize that they have a right to go to school, doing demonstrations about safe sex, malaria campaigns, allowing them to realize that despite your challenges and your poverty over there, that you are lucky that you're going to school and there's a life beyond your village. I love teaching, and I love the idea of being in a classroom and working with students. And that's how I make a difference, because I feel good about it, and the world needs an education. It's a Jewish value of doing Tikkun Olam, and it was truly enforced throughout my Jewish education. That's why I feel so lucky being Jewish, because this is part of my way of living.
I've always done little projects, with my family or with school or whatever it may be, of little community service projects. But my real first, diving into a project was with Invisible Children. I went to a NIFTY convention in Dallas, Texas, and that's where I heard about Invisible Children for the first time really strongly. And when I was there, I saw one of their documentaries.
Neil was abducted with his parents and brother by the LRA.
The room was silent. It was a very emotional experience.
But his parents...
And then right then and there, I knew that I would want to get involved right away. Since Invisible Children is an organization that thrives on videos and movie making, I chose to do some of that as well.
Hey guys, it's Danny Dubin here.
So I had tons of videos made in my room saying, thank you for your support, or talking about the issue. And people got really excited. People began rallying for me. And I ended up raising about $8,000 on my fundraising page. think I realized the potential I had to influence others. It really showed me the power of social media and to bring people together for a common cause. And I really take that to heart when I'm working on my magic, my work here at Hello, to use my skill set, to use my values and my initiatives to really make the world and my community a better place.
From our first experience with cancer, watching our 2-year-old, we really learned so much about the resiliency of kids. One day we would be at the doctor's, and the next day she'd be home playing guitar or going to school, almost without looking back.
I knew that there was something more I wanted to do with all this love, and maybe channeling it towards other people and other kids that didn't have a cure, and they were going through tougher times than even me. And I think that's where I got the idea. Every year we raise money for Alex's Lemonade Stand, and we got like $2,000, $1,000, and it was fun, and I was like always really happy, but I had no idea that it would go this far.
I was incredibly proud of her when she raised the idea and said she didn't want to receive gifts anymore. She could see that there were people worse off, that she needed to remember other people. And I think she's inspired us every step of the way, knowing that we can make a difference.
She really was able to hear the lessons that we as parents, that we in the Jewish community have tried to instill in all of our children, that it's not about any one of us individually, but it's really about doing something greater and giving back to repair the world.
Everyone's always like saying, you raised so much money and it's all about the money, but it doesn't matter how much money. It's really the community that has helped me, and I think that in helping others, I've also been helping myself.
Please welcome the URJ Vice President for Youth, Miriam Chilton.
Those powerful voices are just a few of the many, and working with Jeremy and the North American Board is also a reminder of how young leaders bring about change. Jeremy, thank you for all of the important work you do, and especially thank you for leading my own son, who is serving as a regional social action vice president. Thank you. Both of my children have benefited from the URJ's youth programs, and I am grateful to all of you for the investment you have made in them. My children navigate life as proud Jews with a sense of purpose and meaning, and each dedicates time and energy to making the world a better place. I'm especially thankful since their path wasn't a fait accompli. I was raised a conservative Jew, and I intentionally drifted from Judaism as a young adult. Then I fell madly in love, like many, with a wonderful man who wasn't Jewish. Luckily, when it came time to establish our own community, it was Temple near to me that welcomed us. My now Jewish husband and I, together with our temple and the Reform movement, have had the privilege to offer our children the opportunity to learn the art of being a mensch and living proudly as Jews. My children participated in both our local temple youth group and in URJ programs. URJ Camp Harlem, Kutz, Nifty in Israel, Mitzvah Corps, and for 4 years were very actively involved in NIFTY. And in each program offered joyful and meaningful relationships with like-minded peers, exposed them to issues, people, and places that helped them understand the complex challenges of our world, and inspired critical thinking and questioning. My children are just 2 of the 17,000 who participated last year, and each of those 17,000 have had similar opportunities. And I'm delighted to say participation in URJ youth programs is growing, and what we are offering is expanding. Yet, we have so much more untapped potential. There is still work to be done, and the timing is right. Research tells us that today's young people want to be the change they see in the world. So what does this mean? They want to be engaged in meaningful, transformative activities. They want to make a difference. And I ask you, what other organization has the mission and vision to engage young people to become the best version of themselves and impact the world in positive ways? If you need a reminder, just walk through our wonderful interactive museum exhibit in Kikar Biennial. You'll be proud to see that young Reform Jews have been changing the face of America for more than 75 years. I hope the exhibit inspires you to think about the possibilities in the future. We are all here, after all, to move our future forward. The weight is truly on your shoulders. You may not be able to see it because it's a little dark, but the lanyard around your neck doesn't feel like much, but the impact of our collective action is big. As Cornell Brooks said, take what we have and do what we can to address the injustices of our world. So my challenge to all of you is to make a commitment to engage more young people in your own community and move your future forward. We heard just a few minutes ago from 3 young people who are truly changing the world. 1 lesson, 1 glass of lemonade, $1 at a time. Or as Nicholas Kristof said last night, drop by drop. I am pleased to share one more example. Our next speaker, Paul Fishman, is no stranger to making change. Paul has spent much of his professional career in public service. Some of you may know him from his role as United States Attorney for the District of New Jersey. However, I like to think of Paul as a co-congregant and as a URJ youth alum who started his social justice journey when he joined his teenage peers on urban mitzvah corps in 1973. Paul joins us tonight just a few days after his own son becoming a bar mitzvah. So please join me in saying Mazel Tov as we welcome Paul to the stage.
Good evening. Oh, that was not good. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Miriam, for that very lovely introduction. Those are some pretty remarkable people in that video. It is true, as Miriam described, that I am an alum of Mitzvah Corps. It was the summer of 1973. Yeah, I know. It turns out that no matter how big a donation you promise to URJ, you cannot get a photograph like that taken out of circulation. And I'm going to talk about my kids. My kids are here. They are right now cowing with embarrassment. That's the one circled in yellow. It was the summer of 1973. Hair was long. Richard Nixon was president. The hot issue for the Reform Jewish community was the status of Jews in the Soviet Union. And the Yom Kippur War was still 3 months away. And 19 of us who were members of JIFTY, that's Jersey, for those of you who haven't memorized all the possible nifty affiliates, 19 of us lived in a Rutgers frat house in New Brunswick for 6 weeks. We worked on playgrounds with desperately poor children and few toys, in senior centers with those who didn't remotely have enough attention, in the Legal Aid Bureau, where the cases were hard and the resources were completely inadequate. It wasn't Burkina Faso. but I got to see firsthand, up close, parts of the world that were really not so very far from my own house in Bergen County, but where lives were very, very different from my own. 40 years later, I'm the United States Attorney for the District of New Jersey, appointed by President Obama, and my boss is Attorney General Loretta Lynch. I lead an office of 145 lawyers in Newark, Trenton, and Camden, whose central mission is to investigate and prosecute people who violate the criminal laws of the United States. Political corruption, national security and terrorism, cyber intrusions, gang violence, hate crimes, securities fraud, those are the kinds of cases we handle every day. So what were the people who planned this biennial, all of whom seem to be otherwise very sensible people, what were they thinking when they invited a federal prosecutor to speak to you about engaging our kids in Tikkun Olam, the core mission of our faith? How do I fit in? Well, first, what we do in my office is, at its heart, Tikkun Olam. By making neighborhoods safe from gangs or terrorists, by ridding government and financial institutions of people who corrupt their mission, by guarding against criminal abuse of power wherever it occurs. For me, and I hope for you, that work is legitimately repairing the world. And the people who do it with me are an extraordinary group of passionate, dedicated public servants. But the question that Miriam posed when she invited me to speak was not that. She asked instead whether there's a connection between my service at Mitzvah Corps, my real first taste of public service, and my current job. And is there a davar that I could share with this biennial? To answer that question, I need to tell you two things. First, as Miriam just said, my older son Ian, who is here tonight with my wife Lynn and his younger brother Noah, was called to the Torah last Saturday, 5 days ago, for the first time, as we celebrated his becoming a bar mitzvah. That's right. I suspect that there is no more newly minted bar or bat mitzvah in this entire hall, unless you account for time zones. So that event is the first thing I need you to know about. The second is I need you to tell you a story about a man named Amari Terrell. In 2008, Amari Terrell was a member of a gang known as the Double I Bloods, and he was arrested as part of a joint federal-state investigation of heroin and cocaine distribution. At a bail hearing before Magistrate Judge Madeline Arleo, he was ordered detained without bail pending trial. A few months later, he pled guilty. Early the next year, he stood in a federal courtroom in Newark waiting for the judge to impose sentence. The courtroom was empty, except for the usual handful of people who are essential for that kind of proceeding, including his lawyer, the judge, and the Assistant United States Attorney, the prosecutor. And although it was in some ways a relatively routine proceeding for everybody else, the defendant listened as the judge pronounced the words that would change his life forever. I sentence you to the custody of the Bureau of Prisons for a term of 60 months and 4 years of supervised release after that. Those years of incarceration passed, and with credit for good time, Amari got out of jail and started his term of supervised release in January of 2013. In October of 2014, 21 months later, at about 5 p.m., the same man was once again in a courtroom in that same federal courthouse. He was again in front of Magistrate Judge Arleo. A similar cast of characters was in the courtroom: public defenders, people from my office, others from the court. And he listened again as she uttered different words that would change his life again forever. I now pronounce you husband and wife. The courtroom, this time with its spectator section completely filled, burst into applause and cheers as he kissed his new wife. There was wedding cake, and because it was a federal courtroom, alcohol-free sparkling beverages and water. How did we get there? You would think that after his previous experience with the justice system, being back inside that courthouse would be, except for prison, the last place he'd want to be. Why did he and his fiancée choose as their wedding venue what had been the scene 5 years earlier of the lowest moment of his life? And why did they pick as the person to perform the ceremony the same judge who almost 5 years earlier had ordered him detained without bail? And how did it happen that the wedding guests who were cheering and hugging him included not only me, the United States Attorney, but dozens of courthouse personnel and law enforcement officials? The answer is that Amari Terrell is now a graduate of a relatively new federal reentry court that I have asked my office to start in 2013. I won't take the time now, because I only have 8 minutes, to explain how the court works, what a remarkable group of ex-offenders we have embraced and graduated, how much we have affected their lives, and how much they have influenced ours. I will just say that Rabbi Limmer was exactly right 5 minutes ago, because that is one of the great civil rights issues of our time. Suffice it to say that when Amari and 5 of his fellow participants graduated in the summer of 2014, it was the single most inspiring moment I have ever spent in a federal courtroom in the 32 years I've been practicing law. And to put the icing on the cake, last Monday, President Obama came to Newark and had an hour-long conversation with 10 of us, including me, Senator Booker, Judge Arleo, and another former prisoner who graduated from our program. The president's reaction could not have been stronger as he publicly expressed his enthusiasm and admiration for what those men have achieved. So what does Amari Terrell and that reentry court have to do with this evening and with my son's bar mitzvah? Well, as many of you know, last Saturday's Parsha was Vayera. And as I'm sure many of you also know, it's a long Parsha involving Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham's bargaining with God to save the cities, the story of Lot's wife, the birth of Isaac to the aging Abraham, and Sarah, and the almost sacrifice of Isaac. It's a lot of heady, hard stuff. In our congregation, Ner Tamid in Bloomfield, right, the prospective bar or bat mitzvah has to pick one section. For reasons that I didn't know at the time, Ian picked Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, I won't be obnoxious, Dad, and read you his entire Devar Torah, although I did think it was pretty insightful. But I will share with you what he said at the end, and I'm quoting him. Abraham stands up for the innocent people of Sodom and Gomorrah that he doesn't know, and he feels so strongly that he would rather let the wicked go free than let the innocent people perish. It also seems that he didn't think the punishment was fair, and that maybe the wicked shouldn't be punished this harshly at all. Even if they are bad people, that doesn't mean they should die. Maybe they deserve a second chance. He went on. So another lesson we learned from this week's Torah portion is that even if people do something bad, then maybe they deserve a second chance, and maybe we should think about how they get punished. And that's what my Tikkun Olam project is about. My Tikkun Olam project is helping people who have just gotten out of federal prison with everyday things, such as learning how to set up a social media account for their businesses, teaching them how to use their smartphones, and teaching them how to use Google Docs for notes and presentation. The men in this reentry program in Newark have all committed major felonies or very serious crimes for which they went to prison. Most of them started off in rough neighborhoods where crime was the only way to make money. Now they're out of jail, and they want to become normal citizens and get jobs. I believe that these returning prisoners have learned their lesson, and I think they should get a second chance. I'm glad they get that chance, and I'm glad that I can help them have it. I think that Abraham would have wanted the same thing. That's what he said. And so listening to Ian's Devar Torah last Saturday, I realized that Miriam's question isn't the one I wanted to answer. It was too easy. Of course there's a direct line from my mitzvah core days to my current job. Once you get hooked on public service, once you experience the rush of helping someone else, as soon as you see the difference you can make in someone else's life, then seeing beyond yourself becomes ingrained in your DNA. It's more than a habit, it becomes who you are. David, Danny, and Maya, those kids in the video, and Jeremy Kronig, they are exactly that. But the harder question, the one you are all wrestling with, the one we're all wrestling with, is how does that happen? And I think that's harder. It can't be forced. But I'll tell you how I think it happened for me. My late father, Meyer Fishman, Olav Sholem, passed away in 2008, just 2 weeks short of his 90th birthday. He was, like so many Jews of his generation, the first in his family to go to college, and he graduated from the City College of New York in 1938. He went on and got his master's and PhD in chemistry in Minnesota, and after a short stint in the Army, he returned to City College to join the faculty in 1946. He never left. Although he officially retired at some point, I don't know when, he actually continued to work at City College for 62 years, literally, until the week before he died. In each of his roles, professor, program chair, and associate dean, he was devoted to the teaching and mentoring the minority and economically disadvantaged students who had become the core of City College's student body. And he dedicated the last 25 years of his life, not just the last 25 years of his career, but the last 25 years of his life, to helping the most talented of those students get into medical schools and PhD programs all across the country. He was also a founder and president of what is now Temple Avodat Shalom, then just Temple Shalom, in River Edge, New Jersey. He was the president of the local school board, the adult education program, and the swim club. And maybe I'm leaving stuff out. But the point is, I grew up watching and listening and absorbing his life of public service and tikkun olam. He was never showy about it. He never asked me to do it. He didn't tell me to run for president of the Temple Youth Group. He certainly never suggested that I spend the summer at Mitzvah Corps. But somewhere along the way, I understood that I wanted what he had and wanted to be what he was and to serve like he served. I hope that Ian and his younger brother Noah will learn the same lessons watching me and my wife. That they won't just learn how to hold their forks or where to put their napkins. Well, to be fair, they haven't learned either of those things really well. But I hope they learn all the other things that we have to teach. But this one, this lesson, to pursue tikkun olam, for that, I think the best thing that we can do as parents is to lead by example. Let me make one final observation. A lot of the cases we prosecute involve young men, not only young men, but often young men, who are looking for a sense of community, the chance to be part of a group. Too many of them find that embrace from a gang, from other hackers, from groups here and abroad who are preying on that need, that longing for acceptance and community. We have an obligation to our own children to show them the satisfaction that could come instead from being part of this community and from tikkun olam. I had that experience as a teenager with Jifty, Nifty, and Mitzvah Corps. Last Saturday morning, I passed the Torah to my son as we started the Kriyat HaTorah. And when I placed the Torah into his arms, I was very aware that I was handing him something more than just an unwieldy scroll, that I wasn't just placing in his hands a sacred text. Instead, I knew, and I think he has begun to understand, that I was putting into his hands and over his heart a set of values, a way to think about the world, a structure around which he can build a life of service. Not because I tell him to, or because the Torah tells him to, but because he knows that it's right. I know that he will do it along his own path, one that he picks, as your children will find theirs. I just hope that when he and his brother choose, they remember how my choices have made me feel. L'dor vador.
Thank you so much, Paul. My name is Hannah Schaefer, and I am this year's Nifty Southern Tropical Region President and an alumna of the URJ Camp Coleman and the Kutz Camp. Jeremy, Paul, and Miriam have said it, and each one of us in this room knows that the reform movement, every member of our community, no matter their age, is about making a difference, is about bringing more compassion, more justice, and more wholeness into our world. We are so excited to continue working together and move our future forward. Thank you.
Please welcome Daryl Messenger, Chair-elect of the URJ Board.
It was the spring of 1973. As Paul just said, it was a very good year. I was 15 years old. My best friend wanted me to join her at some place called the Eisner Camp Institute in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. I was not at all sure what to expect and more than a little nervous, but it did not take long for camp to cast its spell on me. After our first week, my friend and I both called home and asked to stay for the entire summer. That summer literally changed my life and that of my family. My identity and my significant relationships, my sense of belonging and community, my belief that we each must seek justice and repair the world, and my comfort with and love of our traditions were all first sparked at Eisner. That spark was nurtured by my family, by wonderful rabbis and teachers, and by terrific Reform congregations, including my home congregation, Congregation Beth Am of Los Altos Hills, California. I share my journey not only to help introduce myself, but because, as you've heard tonight, it's not unique. It's emblematic of our shared experience as Reformed Jews. Every year, thousands of people in hundreds of communities across North America begin the same journey, not just in our camps, but in our congregations, our youth movement, with trips to Israel, and in Taste of Judaism classes. Together, we build community, and we together create a community that builds a better world. Together, we can and do help more people lead rich Jewish lives, lives of compassion, wholeness, and justice. Among all liberal religious denominations, Jewish and Christian, only Reform Judaism has grown in the last 2 decades. The vast majority of North American Jews identify with Reform Judaism, whether or not they actually belong to a congregation. And I think it's okay for us to take some pride in that. Of course, to suggest that we are immune from the challenges to religious life today would be incorrect. We know that individuals join congregations much later or for shorter periods. Often, they choose not to join at all. Further, congregations are increasingly questioning their relationship to a denomination, Reform or otherwise. It does not have to be this way. As Ambassador Rabbi David Saperstein recently said, we have the potential to change the landscape of North American Jewish life. We offer a living Judaism that speaks today's concerns and desires. We offer a contemporary Judaism shaped by ancient Jewish values. As our President Rick Jacobs likes to point out, we are 21st century Judaism. The opportunity before us is to help our congregations create this 21st century Judaism that is evolving, inclusive, authentic, and yes, unorthodox. This work being done every day in our nearly 900 congregations. It cannot be said too strongly or too often. Our congregations are essential for Jewish identity formation, learning, and community. Only the Reform movement has tied its congregational arm, seminary, camps, social justice organization, professional associations, pension benefits, and placement services together to develop the finest leaders and offer outstanding programs and services. When our congregations and their communities work together to achieve much more than what they can do on their own, we affirm what it means to be part of the union for Reform Judaism and the Reform movement. As I look back to the summer of 1973 and trace the twists and turns of my own life, I cannot help but marvel at all the extraordinary individuals with whom I have worked and the remarkable opportunities I had as a consequence of my decision to attend camp. I can draw a direct line from Great Barrington in 1973 to right here in Orlando in 2015. I know many in this room can say the same, tracing the awakening of their Jewish souls to time spent in Kunkletown, or Economawalk, or Brucefield, or, of course, Warwick, New York. Our Reform Movement Center for Training Teen Leaders. Kutz is celebrating 50 years of leadership development. And I am very proud to be the first chair to be a Kutz Camp alum. That friend who called me that fateful day in 1973 is in this room tonight. Rabbi Paula Marcus, please stand. Paula is the rabbi at Temple Bethel in Aptos, California. I love you, Paula. My extended family who are here tonight en masse, because that's how we roll, also shares this journey. My sisters and brother-in-law trace their Jewish involvement to Jewish camp, as does my husband and partner in all things, Jim Heger, himself an important Jewish leader. My grown sons, Adam and Robbie Heger, of course, went to Eisner and Newman, and were active Nifteites, spending time at Kutz for Mechinah. By the way, I know exactly where I was 25 years ago, just about now. Happy birthday, Robbie. You'll always be my baby. Last but certainly not least, my father, Marty Messinger, who at 87 years old continues to teach us all how to think creatively, act pragmatically, and give generously, is here today. Would all of my family please stand? I am so proud to call myself a Reform Jew. I care deeply what happens to our movement and hope to further its mission as the next chair of the Union. I have learned so much from each of our past chairs, and especially the remarkable Steve Sachs. He has been a great supporter of mine, mentor, and friend, and he has given so much to all of us the past 4 years. Thank you, Steve. We often forget the power of our common experience and shared values, but to do so is to diminish our own strength. You are the future of Reformed Jewish life here in North America, Israel, and the rest of the world. In partnership with our congregations and their incredible professionals, we can create a 21st century Reformed Judaism that is inclusive, adaptable, and thriving. So let us join together to fully realize the potential of our movement, to change the landscape of North American Jewry, to inspire the next generation, to make our congregations the best that they can be, and to bring us closer to a world of wholeness, justice, and compassion for which we all pray. Together we can and will do all of that. Thank you so much.